So we're ready to start our painting. I've got my first colour, I've got my dotting tool. So I'm going to start adding lots of lovely dots. And it's a large painting, it will take a while to fill up. So you want to evenly spread your dots around your bloom area. What you might find is when you first start, you're a bit shy with how many you're doing, and then later on in the painting you go, oh, I wish I'd have done more pink. So just go back in with more pink. So what I would do is when you've done your tree area, if you're going to do bloom along your lower edge, I'd go and do your bloom on your lower edge while you've still got that colour. Otherwise you might end up missing out some colours. And it will slowly but surely build up. The splatter parts where the branches are, so where you can see the splatters over the top of the branches, they'll mostly be filled with colour. You won't really see those branches. They're just there to kind of give that shape, really. And if you're wanting to scatter out of your bloom area, so you can either keep it quite contained or you can scatter it out as if the wind is blowing. So you can, don't add too many on the outside, just start with a few and then see how you feel as the painting progresses. Your main kind of area where your paint dots are going to be is inside this area where I've given you the white splatters to start with. What I would say is also go in with white. So your printed white will not be as bright and vibrant as the white paint. So that white print is there just to give you your kind of starting shape. So don't think too much of it. You don't worry about going over those white splatters. It's just there for guidance, really. And it helps to kind of soften the area, having that underneath. So I would say you need at least 7 colours really, but these, if you didn't want to use all of the colours in the pack, you can mix some of your colours as well. So you can use the white to mix and get lighter shades of the same ones you've used. And how we achieve the painting is we'll get to the point where it will start filling up quite a lot, and you've got so many dots on there that some of them are starting to touch and they're getting a bit close together. At that point, down tools and let it dry overnight, and then you can go in for another session where you're kind of filling in all those areas between those dots. And I would say at least 2 sessions. I mean, given the size of it, you're probably looking at 3 sessions. For me, it would normally take me, the first session would be the longest one because there's much more surface area to go with before they start joining up. So that would take me a couple of hours normally to get it fairly full. And then maybe another hour the next time, and then third session if you're going to do a third session. Also your edges might take you longer as well. So your lower edge, so your ground level, that will take you a little longer. And then if you want to do the side edges, you then have to let it all dry and do one edge at a time, otherwise the paint will run. So you'll need to turn it on its side for that. I will skip to a time-lapse video so that you can see the painting coming together without having to sit here for 2 hours watching me. So I've got to the point now where I've added quite a few of my colours, but they're getting fairly close together. So I think it's a good point to stop and let it all dry off. And then tomorrow, come back to it and fill in all of those gaps that haven't got the dots, and then see where we are there. And then if I want to do a third round after that, I can, or it might be finished then. It's also a good point to add the glitter after this first round of dots, because you've got the most amount of wet paint that you're going to have in the process. What I would say though is, because the paint's very wet, sometimes the glitter kind of soaks into the paint, so it might be worth giving it half an hour or so, so the paint starts to dry slightly, and then sprinkle the glitter over, and that will mean that it will sit on top of your dots rather than sinking into them. Don't use too much glitter, it can cause kind of like a film on top of your painting, so I would just be sparing with it, just a dusting, pinch and sprinkle like salt. If you want to add more after your kind of second round of dots, then do that. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with how it's filling up. I've decided to just do a small amount of blossom underneath the tree, but like I've said before, you could do the full thing, or you could leave that totally blank, and then there's a few just scattered over the edges there. You don't want to keep it too regimented around your edges, so I kind of like dot out as I'm going around and just soften the whole thing, and see how you go. So I just wanted to show you how you'd achieve getting little hearts in there. So as I said at the beginning of the video, if you wanted to make it personal to you, you could add little hearts to represent members of the family and kind of hide them in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the larger end of my tool, and I'm going to put a fair bit of paint just in a blob like we've been doing. Then I use the smaller end of the tool, and I'll just drag that paint out just to create a heart shape. You could do them in different sizes to represent mummy, daddy, and then little ones for the kiddies. Do them in different colours, totally up to you. That's quite a nice unique touch, and then you can get the kids to kind of spot them when they're all hidden amongst all the other dots when it's filled in. What you might want to do is do this when you've finished your painting, so right at the end, and then they'll be a bit more noticeable. That's just dragged out to a nice heart. There we go. I've come out to the studio to start my second round of dots. I wanted to do a close-up to show you what it looks like after your first round is all dry. So there's still plenty of areas where more dots can go. I'll do a little close-up so you can see. There's still lots more spaces to fill in, but it's starting to get there. It's looking good, and we'll see how it progresses. So our painting is finished. I've done 2 rounds of dots on this. I could do a third, but I think for the purposes of the video, it's full enough. I think it's looking lovely. You'll notice on the bottom edge, I kind of made them smaller dots. I haven't done as big as I've done in the actual bloom. I think that helps just keep it nice and subtle. But yes, quite pleased with that. I hope you enjoy your workshop, and I'd love to see some pictures of your completed works of art. That would be great.